Hi English students, this is Mrs. Peacock, and at this point we need to talk about our last essay for English 102, which is the essay that's based off Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream. It's one of his comedy plays, and it is a 5-act play, so I highly recommend watching the film that I have included in the content area Blackboard. It is about $2 to rent the film, but it's so much better than having to read it just straight off of the page. Shakespeare's meant to be performed, so by seeing the actors interact with the descriptions and with the dialogue, it just makes it so much more easy to follow and relatable. Also, the actors, you'll recognize many of the actors in there. There's Christian Bale and Kevin Kline and Michelle Pfeiffer. Many of the big 90s actors are in this movie, so that's just fun to watch as well. This type of essay argues a point of view about Midsummer Night's Dream, utilizing quotes and summaries of the scenes as evidence. I have here an example of how to quote from a play because it is different from quoting from a poem or from prose. Of course, with poems, you use the line numbers in your in-text citations, and then prose has the page number. But with a play, you use the act, scene, and line number. And this play is published in your textbook on page 1397, so I highly recommend checking that out. But definitely when you're quoting from the play, you'll need to do the act, scene, and line number. In this example, I took the one from Macbeth, and it's from Act 3, Scene 3, lines 96 through 97. The rough draft will be due Wednesday, April 17th by midnight in discussions, and that'll be for peer review, of course, just like the other two essays. And then your final draft will be due in the content area Blackboard by Wednesday, April 24th by midnight. And that'll also be a daily grade attendance assignment for you. This essay is worth 20% of your final grade, so not nearly as much as your research paper, but still a nice chunk of your average. So essay should be at least 800 words in length, so that is the minimum, so make sure you meet that 800 words. That does count your works cited page as well. For formatting, none of this should be a surprise. It's still 12-point Times New Roman font, double space with MLA heading and style. So just make sure you keep MLA heading in the style of the format. You must also have a works cited page with Midsummer Night's Dream cited. The second page of this assignment has it done for you. Merry Christmas or happy birthday, because I've done this citation for you on the second page. So you can literally copy this citation. But you will need to have it cited. That is part of the assignment because you'll be pulling scenes from the play, so you just have to make sure you give it full credit. Also, I don't want you to have any outside sources for this paper, and I'll explain why. I want to know your interpretation of the play, not what you found online or what you found on SparkNotes or anything like that. I want to know, just as an audience member, what you pulled from it, what your interpretation is, what your ideas are from it, your own analysis. Because to me that's so much more interesting than just something you found online. Like, this expert thinks like about this play. I want to know what you thought about it. All topics must be based off of William Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, and I say that because I promise I'm going to get an essay that's about Romeo and Juliet or Hamlet or Macbeth. It must be based off this play. And obviously we're covering this play in 102, but I also want to discourage you from using any essays you may have written in high school or in other English courses, because I am going to send all of these through that same plagiarism checker, and it is possible to self-plagiarize. So just make sure you write your own original essay that's about this play. All topics must be based off this play. One of the topic ideas I have on here is what symbols are there in A Midsummer Night's Dream. So of course we've got symbols within the film as far as the bicycle and record players and that sort of thing. They're kind of symbolic of modernity and innovations and humanity. There's also the symbol of the flower love potion. Of course, it's symbolic of love. It can be symbolic of the subconscious as far as sleep and how that interacted with the characters. The forest itself becomes symbolic of chaos and symbolic of that unpredictability. The city of Athens is more symbolic of hierarchy and structure. So it really just depends on which symbol stood out to you while you're watching the film and going through the play. But I would recommend choosing 3 symbols just because it makes it easier to break into those 3 body paragraphs. Because remember, you're still writing a 5-paragraph essay: introduction, 3 body, and a conclusion. What is the conflict in A Midsummer Night's Dream? So, of course, the conflict of unrequited love is pretty obvious. There's also conflict between fairies versus humans. The intentions of the fairies often clash with humans because fairies are more mischievous and are more into trying pranks. And of course, Bottom's an example of that, where he turns him into a donkey. Puck turns him into a donkey. And so there's a lot of conflict also within the characters themselves. Aegeus and his daughter have a conflict on who she should marry. So that's another major conflict. But just based on your interpretation, I apologize, the train's going by and I'm at Wallace, so it's really loud. But based off whatever your interpretation of the conflict is, you can focus on that in your analysis. How does the forest in A Midsummer Night's Dream function to drive the plot forward? Of course, the main characters go into the forest and it changes their whole future because of the love potion, and who they love when they leave the forest isn't necessarily who they loved when they went in. And so that's something to consider, especially with Demetrius and Hermia. So you don't really know what's going to happen when you're in the forest. There are several themes within Midsummer Night's Dream. Pick one theme and point out how that theme drives the plot of the play. And when I say theme, it could be love, it could be magic, it could be unrequited love. I mean, really, it just depends on your interpretation of the play on what that major theme is. There is a mythological element within Midsummer Night's Dream, represented by the fairies. Explain how the fairies' storyline mirrors the mortals and how they learn a similar lesson. So when you think of Oberon and his wife, they had their own troubles with love, and that's why whenever he does the love potion trick on her and she falls in love with Bottom, it definitely mirrors the love potion trick that they play on the humans, and some of their realizations are similar in that they may love someone like with or without the love potion, and who they're meant to be with is more clear after that magic is worn off. There is a play within the play, Pyramus and Thisbe, that Bottom, Flute, and the other comedic characters act within. Although the play is silly rather than tragic, it does illustrate some key points for the main characters. Explain the moral demonstrated by this play within a play. And for this, I would particularly recommend fast forwarding to that play within the play and look at some of the lines, the reactions of the audience. It actually accidentally becomes beautifully tragic. Thisbe, the actor who plays Thisbe, the female interest, whenever she finds Pyramus dead and she starts acting in a way that's not the female voice but his actual voice, notice the audience actually tears up, and it's like they realize, oh gosh, like she did love Thisbe, and imagine losing the love of your life through death. And so it's one of those beautiful scenes where and that's why I love for you guys to watch the film as well, because some of their nonverbal reactions to the play shows that they're having a real connection to it. It's no longer purely comedic at that point. And I think that there's a lesson to be learned from that play within the play. But it just depends on if that spoke to you or not, on whether you're going to write about that topic. Sleep and the magical potion are utilized for both humor and conflict resolution within Midsummer Night's Dream. Analyze the love potion and how sleep is part of the process. So now, of course, we do a lot more with sleep analysis and dream theory, as far as analyzing it to figure out what our subconscious is saying. But at this point in the 1500s and 1600s, they didn't necessarily understand how dreams could function within your life. But it's interesting that it's when they awaken from sleep that the magic begins, and it's whoever they lay eyes on first, and then the love of their life could be right next to them, and there's something beautifully symbolic within that. And so just depending on your interpretation, that might be the right topic for you. And all the rest of this is the same, 10 points off every day late, so just make sure you turn in that final draft on time. All of your final drafts are going to be graded using the same grading rubric that you always have access to on the Getting Started page of Blackboard. And here's an area for you to do brainstorming and outlining, just in case you want to write down some ideas before you get started. Don't forget, we have a fantastic writing center with tutors who'd be happy to help you through this. I know writing about Shakespeare is not the easiest topic, because Shakespeare, it's not modern English by any way. So But if you do have any questions, please let me know. I'm always here to help. And thank you so much for sticking with me through this whole semester. We are almost in the home stretch, so you've got this. Thanks. Bye.